Hello everyone, and welcome back to Turkish Spotlight Secrets. Tonight's episode is about a name you've loved for years and a friendship that refuses to fade even when life gets loud, Hazal Kaya and Cagatay Ulusoy. If you're here for careful storytelling you can run through text-to-speech without jump cuts or shouty captions, settle in. We're going to walk through a complicated week in Hazal's life, why she's been sounding fragile, what actually shook her at home, and how a quiet act of help from Cagatay turned a frightening moment into a story about care. Stay to the end for the clean summary and our title. First, the mood around Hazal. Anyone who has followed her for more than a minute knows she's the kind of person whose heart has a low threshold. When people or animals are hurting, she feels it. On good days, that empathy is her rocket fuel. On hard days, it costs her sleep. Over the last stretch, her posts and interviews have carried the weight of everything happening around the country: tough headlines, sudden tragedies, the kind of news cycle that makes even steady people flinch. She has tried to cushion the heaviness with humor, ironic captions, a self-aware complaint about catching every cold from the universe, a photo that turns the mess on a kitchen counter into a punchline, but you can hear the fatigue under the jokes. The fanbase heard it too and did what good communities do: slowed the comments down, kept the tone gentle, and sent the digital equivalents of soup. Layered on top of that, there is the bright thread that keeps cutting through the gray: Hazal and her family are preparing for the birth of her daughter. It is the kind of anticipation that changes the flavor of every day. The nursery details. The short, practical lists that turn into long, sentimental ones. The sudden crying at a commercial that wouldn't have moved her a year ago. When she wrote recently that the bad streak would end with something good, you could feel the whole timeline exhale. For all the public attention, this is a private, domestic season, one you navigate with checklists and tiny socks, with a calendar that matters more than trending topics. Excitement and worry are neighbors in times like these. She is living both. Now to the incident that yanked the week off its rails. In the kind of domestic chaos that can visit any home at 6:30 p.m., two small problems happened at once in Hazal's kitchen: a dish left on heat half a minute too long and a pan that decided to smoke right when the phone rang. It was not dramatic in a movie way, it was the kind of oh no moment that becomes a story later, but in the moment it felt like a crisis. A smoke alarm chirped to life. A towel waved frantically. Windows opened. For an expectant mother already operating on less sleep than she would ever admit, the adrenaline spike was real. Neighbors noticed, because neighbors notice. This is where the second name enters the frame. Cagatay Ulusoy has a home not far from Hazal's, close enough that a blip on a building chat or the smell of scorched spices through a hallway can register if you're paying attention. He did not arrive as a headline. He arrived like a friend who understands that the first thing you do in a small scare is reduce the number of people who are scared. According to people in the building, he checked in quickly and quietly: no performance, no lingering, just the practical, calming steps that reset a room. If you're picturing something cinematic, scale it back. This was less about heroics and more about competence. Turn off the source. Ventilate. Make sure the alarm can be silenced without removing the safety net. Confirm that everyone, especially the smallest and not yet arrived person in the story, is okay. By the time fresh air had pushed the smell back to memory, the worst had passed. There was no damage beyond a pan that will now have a story to tell. Hazal did what healthy people do after a fright: she sat down, drank something cold, and let the chemical storm in her body settle. Later, much later, she made light of it online in that very Hazal way, the way that invites a laugh without pretending the scare didn't happen. If you read between the lines, you could hear the gratitude for ordinary competence, for neighbors who don't turn a moment into content, and for the simple luck of timing. Why does a small household mishap deserve a longer look? Because of what it reveals about the people in the headline and the ecosystem around them. Hazal's empathy is not a persona, it is a practice. It's why she worries, and it's why audiences trust her. In a week when heaviness stacked up, her body said no more. That is not weakness. That is biology. And Cagatay's part? It reflects a long, well-documented pattern of showing up in small ways that never make the press. Recommendations made quietly, congratulations sent without a camera, and yes, a simple, steady presence when a neighbor needs a hand. If you first met their names through drama, it might surprise you that the most persuasive proof of character is this, a non-dramatic response to a non-disaster. There's also the question of friendship versus headline. When two public figures share history, the internet's reflex is to shove every interaction into one of three boxes: romance, rivalry, or rumor. But life offers more boxes than that. There is a box labeled "We did something good once, and we take care of the memory by taking care of each other." There is a box labeled "Proximity makes us each other's first call when something weird happens." There is a box labeled "Grown-ups." That last one rarely trends, but it keeps people whole. Nothing about this evening asks to be read as anything other than that. And we should talk about the part of the story that will outlast this week, the child who will rewrite every routine in Hazal's home. A mother who feels deeply is a mother who will err toward caution. That doesn't mean living in fear, it means letting little scares become small lessons. Replace the old extinguisher and teach everyone where it lives. Swap one pan for another. Install the smarter alarm and test it on a Wednesday afternoon when no one is tired. Let the apartment smell like lemon for a day because you overcleaned and slept better for it. These are unglamorous adjustments. They are also the architecture of peace. For fans who wanted to help but did not know how, take your cue from the people in the room. Lower the temperature. Keep the comments kind. Don't turn "neighbor helps neighbor" into grand gesture. Don't strip the story down to create a romantic angle that isn't there. If you must post, make your caption a blessing. Health to the mother, calm to the home, patience to the days between now and the first cry. The algorithm can learn to reward care if we teach it. What about the larger conversation that always threatens to swallow stories like this, the pressure public women face to be endlessly resilient while still being entertaining? Hazal did not sign up to carry a news cycle on her back. She signed up to tell stories well, and she has. The best gift a community can give her during a vulnerable season is the space to be ordinary. That means accepting that some weeks will be quiet, some posts will be jokes that only half work because she is tired, and some nights will be spent resetting a kitchen instead of rehearsing a scene. The work will wait, and it will be better for the waiting. There's a final note worth making about Cagatay, because the internet has a way of twisting even small kindness into performance. He did not do this to be seen. The detail that confirms it is the same detail that always confirms it, the absence of theater. No coy post. No self-reference. No photo pushed through a back channel. He did not pull focus. He returned it to the person who needed it most, a woman calming her breath in a chair, a child not yet here but already altering the arc of every day. Here is your clean, responsible summary. In a week when heavy headlines wore her down, Hazal Kaya has been leaning on humor and the promise of her daughter's imminent arrival to keep her balance. A small kitchen scare briefly tipped that balance. It was contained quickly, with practical help from nearby friend and longtime colleague Cagatay Yulasoy. No serious harm, no lingering damage, just the reminder that even famous households need the same ordinary safeguards all of us do. The friendship at the center remains exactly what it has long been: steady, untheatrical, useful. If you value this kind of coverage, measured, human, and useful for text-to-speech, please like the video, subscribe to Turkish Spotlight Secrets, and consider joining so we can keep investing hours where rumors never do, verifying, contextualizing, and telling the small true stories that make the big ones make sense. In the comments, tell us the practical habit that calms your home. A checklist on the fridge? A neighbor on speed dial? A favorite song that resets the room? Your answers often help more people than you know. Until next time, health to the mother, patience to the days, and better news ahead.